evening from wherever you are. My name is Yogesh Kapoor, and welcome to the Movement YouTube Live every Sunday. And with me, I have my lovely partner, Grace. So amazing. Grace, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, beautiful people. Well, I always say here that I am Grace So Amazing. I am a coach, a physicist, a life coach that recently decided to give herself a new tag called the human fertilizer. So what I do is I help my clients build systems so that they're able to achieve their goals whilst having fun doing it. And I am excited to be here. We were not here last Sunday because life happened. Pe- well, I'm gonna say because on this show we are going to be as human as we can be. Last week I lost a family friend and I was so devastated because it was unreal. It was someone that we were so much close to as a family, and then all of a sudden, he had an accident and he died, and it left all of us devastated. And that is why it is very important that we give impact on a daily, because we never know. We never know. Over to you, my wonderful co-host, Yogesh Kapoor.
First of all, my deepest condolences to you and his family for the family friend you lost. I know it was very sudden, and it really makes me think that it's so important to be in the moment, isn't it? And seize the day and the opportunities we have because life is not guaranteed. And doing these lives every Sunday with you is a privilege because I know somewhere someone listens to our message and it might inspire them or make them think of becoming a coach or taking a coaching program or getting into personal development. I myself recently signed up for a 1 year subscription to a personal development course. I mean courses. And I'm always pushing myself to improve. And which brings me to today's topic, which is transformation through coaching. Now, Grace, let me ask you, what made you decide that you wanted to become a coach? Because I know you were in the corporate world and you've been a physicist, but what made you switch and say to yourself, like, this is something I want to do? You're on mute.
Thank you so much. And what a lovely question you've asked. And all right, so before I go deep into why I became a coach, I have always loved to help. I have always loved to be in a position to help people, understand certain things when they are confused. So for me, I've always been in a position where I have a mentality that when I'm confused, where there's something I'm not able to do, there must be someone that knows how to do it, or there must be someone that can help me get out of it. And I also have a mentality that we are all connected as human beings, we are all connected and we are gifted in several areas, and we can always help each other thrive and grow because that's how the universe is created. Now, I worked in the corporate world for 10 years, and I wasn't doing anything related to physics that I studied. And but while I was there, I realized that in my department, I was doing certain things that now, in hindsight, I would call coaching. I would, I was at some point, I was the head of a team, and I would realize that I could help them get a better version of themselves. In a situation where I would tell them what to do or what not to do, I would work with them in such a way that I would help them zoom in to what they're capable of doing. So when I saw myself in that environment, and I kept asking myself that, look, are you sure of what you're doing? Do you like what you're doing? Even though I was able to express my coaching gift in my work environment, it was still very difficult because it was just like me doing something half baked. I wasn't given the opportunity to fully express myself as a coach. So I didn't really feel fulfilled, but I didn't know, as at this time, the coaching world or the coaching space was not clearly defined. We had it was a case of you can't just come and tell yourself just quickly say you're a coach or what. We only knew coaches, we only tied football to coaches or people in the sports industry. They were the only people that we deemed fit were in need of coaches, right? So now tell you how I've been able to tie physics to what I now do. It will interest you to know that when I did physics, in my mind, I was going to end up being a researcher or just one scientist, or probably teaching physics somewhere. I didn't really define how it could be relevant in my love for what I was doing because at some point I was like, no, I don't want to end up in a lab somewhere looking for something to do with NASA or, things in that. I was like, no, I was a nerd already while I was in school. I didn't want that for myself. Even though research is something I truly love, which is part of what being a scientist is, I loved it and I saw how it made sense when I started my journey of coaching. Now, the beautiful part of everything that I do now is that even as a coach, I see the relevance of being a physicist because coaching is a science. It's a science that's so beautiful that is almost predictable. And the beautiful thing about science is you're able to predict the next thing that can happen based on a formula, based on what has been done over and over and over and over again. So when you talk about coaching, I smile because I have been able to meet physics and coaching at a point where I am now, when I work with my clients, they can almost tell that everything I do with them is almost scientific because of my background and because coaching has many principles that we use in physics. So it's interesting. I'm saying it, I'm even smiling, I'm happy talking about it because every time I say that, nothing goes to waste. Sometimes we find ourselves in places or we find ourselves doing certain things that we're asking ourselves that mm, what's the relevance of this in my life? And then you just down the line, you'd be able to connect the lines. So I'm super excited. So I'm throwing the same question to you, Yogesh. What is it with coaching and why are you always interested in coaching? Or why let me even ask it that way because I notice that no matter what you do, you always find yourself back into the space of grace. I love it. I love when I coach, and all of that when I help people communicate effectively, when I help, when you talk about it, I see how your eyes pop and then I see that, oh my goodness, this guy is an unrepentant coach. So tell me, why the love for coaching and why do you feel at home when you coach?
Well, as you know, I'm a communications coach. And there was a time I used to be really not confident, had very low self esteem. And normally, what I realize is the person you end up coaching was once you yourself. Your avatar is the one who you are once yourself, right? So I used to be very shy, never used to speak to anyone. And then something happened and I transformed and I became a confident person, right? And what I realized was there's so many people out there just like me, right? Who need help, who have low self esteem, who have no confidence in themselves, who cannot speak up, right? And I just did it out of like helping people out of just to help someone, the feeling of just helping someone transform, which is also today's topic, right? Transformation through coaching. And I worked with one kid for 8 months. you know um, he was my first ever student. I worked with him for 8 months. I didn't even have confidence that I could teach. I knew I could speak on stage and all of that, but coaching was like a whole new game for me, right? But when I noticed, when I started teaching this kid, there's a part of me that just clicks, and as a coach, you realize you're not giving the student the answers, they're finding their own answers, right? You just have to tap in that reservoir of talent they have inside of them and wake them up. And while I was coaching this kid for 8 months, I mean, I could see the transformation from a person who wouldn't look into my eyes to going on and raising funds for his sailing club, for mastering his literature project, which helped him in his final exam, and to an extent that even after I stopped coaching him, he visualized himself becoming a pilot and got a scholarship, and today he's flying a plane. I mean, it's just, when you think about, and he left his university to go and become a pilot because he got a scholarship, which is very rare to get in a flight school. It's worth like 150,000 US dollars, and he visualized it because he's like, I remember you taught me how to visualize. And today he's a pilot. He flies a plane, and I was like, oh my god, right? Because sometimes you wonder, like, you coach all these people, and you sometimes wonder, does it really help them to just a certain extent or throughout their life? And when I met him for lunch 2 years ago, and when he told me the whole story of how he got the scholarship and now he's flying Cathay Pacific, and I was like, oh my god, right? He transformed himself. So I think, like I said, right, we love to help people who we were once, and we got helped also. We got coached and trained, and people encouraged us or inspired us, and that made me start. And I love it so much when every time, because I've worked a lot with kids, right? I worked a lot with kids. So I love it when parents message me and say, thanks to you, my daughter's not shy anymore. Thanks to you, my son is taking part in a debate. Or thanks to you, they're in the talent show and they're more confident in expressing themselves. Because, at the end of the day, it's not about speaking, it's more about confidence, right? Confidence to do the things they thought they could not do. And when you can do that, it just, that feeling comes from the soul. And I know you know what I mean, right? Because we did a course together, a while back, right? Where today, when we see those students, they've transformed and they're doing big things, right?
Absolutely.
And so I hope that answered the question.
Absolutely. And then I hear you talk about kids and I'm smiling and almost, tearing my cheeks out of my face because that's what I am, in recent times. And our job, especially for me as a personal development coach. And yes, I think I got my aha when you were speaking, when you said our avatar is the people that we were and the people that I mean, that's profound because when you were speaking, I was just counting my clients in my head. Come on, come on, yeah, 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 and all of that, and then it makes sense because eventually it is even more interesting when you are skilled. I mean, it's always, I say this a lot because people talk about being talented in several areas. While I respect that, I also understand that it is also important to know the technical know-how and to understand the education around coaching. And what that means is you're a natural, like the meeting I attended on Friday, a Toastmasters meeting, and the lady said that, I mean, it was a icebreaker, but she didn't sound like it was a high like an icebreaker to me. I'm like, come off it, you're a professional, right? But when she was talking, she said something that I took. She said, even though people say that I speak very well, I knew within myself that I needed to own more of my skills, to brush some of my skills by learning, paying to learn how to fine tune some of those things. And I was like, good for you. because I also at some point had to pay for some things that I knew I was good in or good at. I knew there would always be more. There would always be people that are better than you in key areas, and then there's also the community where you can find yourself and you keep brushing your skills. And very practical, I would share with you when you talked about your avatar. I mean, our avatar. I realized that I was all over the place, when I started coaching, because for us at the time when I went to coaching school, it was all about, coach as many people as you can coach, just keep coaching. I particularly had a problem niching, like why would I want a niche when I could help thousands of people? And then I realized that my own personal story, some of the things that I had to go through from, you know, getting my power back after being in an abusive relationship, by switching careers, by being confused of what to the career path to take, by dealing with obesity and having to work my way into a healthy lifestyle. By being a woman that was confused at some point because I was in an environment where I couldn't, express my gifts and talent. So it was hard for me because while I had gone through a lot. Getting my avatar was hard for me. I thought in my mind, I wanted to help everyone. But something that was good for me when I was able to join a community to engage in a professional coaching academy more, because even when I got my coaching certificate, I had to, keep learning to get better and learning never stops. And by the time I got to a point, and after I worked with people, I took statistics of all the people that I worked with, and guess what I realized? Even though I was working with people that were obese, what I realized was for some of them, the reason why they were obese was because food was the only thing they found succor in. Being obese was not the problem. It was being in a place of, I want to grow. I want to grow, but I don't know how to go about it. And because I'm feeling bad, I eat, to numb that pain. And I realized also people that were confused, that were like, I know there's a lot that I can give, but I find it hard because probably my environment, probably my marriage, probably my relationship, probably, a lot. And in my coaching sessions, we get to unpack all of these things and then eventually realize that the problem really is not what you're looking at or what you're pointing at or blaming your spouse or blaming your lover or blaming your relationship or blaming this or blaming that. It's all about some of the things that you had to do, but it takes coaching. And that's why today's topic is very interesting. It's something that is going to go a long time. Coaching is that tool that helps with the transformation. Yogesh, I want to ask you something.
Sure.
What area of your life did coaching help you discover, and how were you able to navigate from a place of being a novice to being a professional that you are in whatever area?
Good question. Very good question. It helped me in many areas. It helped me in my relationships, because like you said, that instead of blaming others, you have to own your own responsibility and see that um, it's the decisions we make, it's the choices we make. So first, it helped me with my relationships because I saw my blind spot, right?
Mm.
You don't know what you don't know, and I saw that, oh my God, um, while I was blaming everybody, right, actually the power was within me. instead of me finding excuses. So it changed my relationships because I stopped blaming people for the things that happened to me in life. In my professional front, like I said, remember, I wasn't sure I could teach, but when I got coached, because for many months I was like in a frozen state. I was stuck. I was like, how do you teach? Can I teach? Like all that stuff. And then after I did the personal development thing, that's when I took the first step, and I moved on from there. I got my first student. It made me realize that of course you can teach. Because I would have imposter syndrome. I would talk myself down. You don't know how to teach. You're not qualified. You're not this. You're not that. Right? And it's so funny. And I am being in so many speech contests and giving presentations and all. And the other side, I was like, can I teach? Because I always felt speaking and teaching are two different things.
Oh,
You
yeah.
see? So, but after I got coached, I took that step, and after that, it just there was momentum. One became to two students, became to 10, became to 20. I started doing schools, universities. I literally moved to Indonesia and started doing my coaching practice over there because the numbers are very huge there of kids who are not confident. And it just there's so many. I mean, yeah, my relationships, my coaching, what else, my health, right? When you get coached, you realize there's some things you should be doing, some things you shouldn't be doing,
Mm,
to take care of your health. Because I mean, when I say health, not just physical health, I mean mental health. you know
yeah.
I would always talk myself down, and I realized that I have to have more compassion and empathy for myself, like I do for my students.
Yeah.
So I realized, oh my God, I'm not doing it to myself, right? And how am I supposed to do it for my students?
Yeah.
So even my mental health was improved. So those are like just two, three of the areas where coaching really helped me move forward. Otherwise, I was in a place of like blaming others and not moving on and not believing in myself. And that made me move a step forward and slowly, slowly get that momentum and become the person I am now.
I love it. I think you're practically dropping more ahas for me to take away today, and I would just talk about the recent aha I just got while you were talking. You said you were speaking and you didn't even know that you were teaching. And I think we all find ourselves in that space. And that's what coaching does for you. Coaching zooms in on what your skills are. Coaching zooms in on what what your capacity, what you're able to do seamlessly without thinking twice. Because again, there are several things online that you find you can be this, you can be that, you can do this, you can do all of that, right? And you're confused and you're saying to yourself, what am I even good at? What am I doing? But when you get to a coach will streamline it and help you realize that, come now. Oh, I've actually been this, and I'll tell you how that happened to me. You know, I I always said to myself that, look, I love children. God knows I love children, but I don't think I can teach. Exactly like you said. Again, I was afraid because my dad was a professional teacher before he joined the army. Even while he was in the army, he was, teaching officers, and he was an instructor, he was a trainer. And in my mind, I never for once, I mean, I'm a physicist, I'm a scientist. I know that I have options, and teaching was not one of it. Nah, I'm not going to teach. I'm not going to teach physics for anything in the world, I would say, you know. And then I realized, like you mentioned, which is something that you're aware of, is when I started a book club for preteens and teenagers. Okay, there's a plane. A plane is just across and it's affecting the network, I guess. Can you see me? Can you hear me now?
Clearly. I can hear you clearly, see you
All
clearly.
right. So I just knew I was in the personal development space, but I wanted to work with adults because I felt children, and I mean children, preteens and teenagers were in their formative stage. And for me, I consider myself, with the IQ of somebody that would want to work with people that, I could relate with on a high IQ level. But when I started working with these children, my goodness, what I'm learning from them, no adult has taught me what I'm learning from these children I'm working with. And I'm like, my goodness, I'm so good, Yogesh. I'm so good with preteens and teenagers that I'm like, what's this about? I knew I was good, but I never knew I was this good. And let me tell you, it's okay to be humble. We talk about being humble, that, don't blow your own trumpet. In this case, I'm going to blow it. In this case, I will blow it because back to back, I have worked with children, especially between the ages, ages 7 and 18. And I'm just seeing how they're transforming right in my very eyes based on the sessions I've had with them. And I'm now like, okay, maybe these adults can just be on their own while I just deal with these children for now because I'm loving the transformation. So for me, I think I'm learning more than I'm given as a coach. I dare say, because people are different. Peculiar cases, you just see that, I mean, same problem, different personalities, different ways of handling it. And I'm like, I love this profession and I love the transformation. So for me, I would say that coaching is a tool that is yet to be tapped. Mm. We are yet to touch the surface of coaching because what the world is right now, and we talked about AI and how it's been affecting our community and society. You can tell that coaching is untapped. What do you think about that?
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. Because coaching for a very long time was more in the West. If you see majority of the coaches in the world, 40% are in the West. And for a long time, the concept of coaching was not so big in certain countries. You would have speakers, you would have mentors, teachers, but coaching in itself, like you said in the beginning, we always thought of coaching as, oh, a sports coach, right? Like someone as a
Mm-hmm.
football coach, this coach, but we never thought of life coach. We never thought of relationship coach. We didn't think of
Mm-hmm.
all these different coaches, right? But now it's expanded. Now there are coaches in so many different industries, not just one. And it's not even, like you said, touch the surface. We're 8
Mm-hmm.
billion people. 8 billion people. How many coaches are out there? How many coaches are out there? It's not enough for a majority of the people. It's so funny. I'll tell you, just 2 days back, I attended another webinar where this guy was speaking about the number of speakers suddenly that there's a demand for within Asia itself, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
and the number he gave was so huge. And he's like, can you imagine that this many speakers are required for events and it's untapped? It's untapped, So, like you said, bare surface, and you got to keep learning. Like even for you and me, we keep taking courses, we keep joining things, we keep learning, developing ourselves, right? I personally, in COVID, I joined a speaker to trainer course, a 16-week course. I took that coaching course we did together, if you
Yeah.
remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
We did that as well. That was a good 17 weeks. I'm assuming it was 17 weeks. And then after that, we also did a course which was like 8 or 12 weeks, right? So we are always like on the move, right? Learning something new and developing ourselves. And obviously, coaching has a methodology, right? Not every like a lot of people mistaken coaching for just regular teaching. No, there's a format to it, right? You have to know how to communicate in coaching. What is the mindset of a coach, right? There's so many things involved. What are the questions you have to ask as a coach, right? Which we covered in our course previously. So it's and it doesn't end there, right? You learn the basics, but then you have to keep developing yourself through practice and redoing the courses and re going through the material, right?
Mm.
So it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. I mean, where you are at in Africa, tell me, what is the how is coaching taken there? Like, are you guys? It must be like compared to what it was 10 years ago. Where are you today at with it?
Yeah, we're getting there. I mean, what I've come to realize, which is a human behavior, which is a behavioral pattern you find with the human folk, right? So when they say this is the in thing, everybody is running and they're following it and they're calling, they're saying that this is what they are, which is fine, and I get it. I always tell myself that I still say till tomorrow that coaching is not something you just pick up because everybody's doing it. If you pick up coaching, if you learn the tools, like you take a course in coaching, in life coaching, and you take it to use it for yourself personally and to use it for your immediate family and for your work, that's something very good. And then in Africa, coaching is still very new, relatively new. We have more coaches than more people that believe in coaching. And it's probably because they've been born by some coaches that probably tried their own way of coaching but didn't work because they didn't get the methodology, like you said, that you need to understand that human beings are very different, and there are people that you honestly cannot help until you're able to take them to a level. So there are stages to these things. And before you're able to know some of these things, you have to go through the rigorous, I must say, because coaching, the training of becoming a coach is not something you read over the internet or watch on YouTube or something, even though it can help you to fine tune it, to understand, but in a setup where you are giving hands-on, like we did with our students back then. you know we did all the training, and after the training we also went as far as doing application for a period, and we were able to tell some of the students, as you can tell, you see some of the students doing amazing things right now. So you can't just say that coaching is where it should be in Africa. 10 years ago, it was nothing. You couldn't, coach. If you call a coach is strictly a football coach or a basketball coach or a sports coach. But that's not the case right now. Right now in Africa, Nigeria precisely, we hear of coaches, and then we have good coaches that are very popular, coaches that are doing amazing stuff out there, and people are beginning. And one good thing that media does, which is something we are also doing through this platform, is the more you talk about something, the more you bring the awareness into the fore. People begin to see what that this guy is talking about. They may frown at first, they may dismiss it at first and say, oh, please spare me. But when they get to see it over and over again, it becomes something that they'll be like, oh, okay, maybe I should just listen to this. And then when they listen to it, they'll be like, oh, okay. So I can get a communication coach. So are you telling me that all I need to be able to speak well is to get someone that can help me communicate very well? Is that what you're telling me? Oh, okay. I should give it a try. And that's how the industry is becoming something that um in the nearest future would be highly lucrative. So I'm talking to anybody that if you know you're gifted, and you also know that you are very passionate about helping people unravel their mystery, or you have gone through a particular thing that you were at a point you needed help yourself, but you couldn't just get the help because you couldn't find someone that could understand you, that could get you. Most times, people may not be able to get you, they just give you the theory. But for some people, they understand it. That's where empathy comes when coaching and all of that. So I can go on and on, when it comes to coaching here in Africa. Coaching is really not um, where it should be, but we're getting there.
Interesting, very interesting, and it will keep growing. It will keep growing, and the need for coaches, I think, is become even more and more in
Yeah,
today's date. Especially because even as human beings, we have pushed the envelope so far, right?
yeah,
Um, Everybody wants to improve. Everybody wants to get better, right? And like you said, I think that is a given in life. You want to always get better at something, right? Like some of the greatest people, whether it's in sports, whether it is in speaking, whether it is even coaches or whatever industry they're in, they never stop learning.
yeah.
They never stop learning. They hire people, they pay millions of dollars of people. There are CEOs who pay up to $1 million to get coached,
That's right.
$1 million a year just to get coached. And that's maybe just like a 20 or 45-minute session a week,
Mm.
you know. Industries, like I was listening to this other guy I saw 4 years ago in during COVID, and he was doing a workshop with one of my favorite speakers, Les Brown, about speaking and how to become a
Mm-hmm.
speaker and all of that. So I attended it, right? Because back in COVID we had so much time on our side that we could attend all these things, right? And I attended it, and the same speaker I just saw in another event, and he was talking about AI, like from where is speaking and where is AI. And it was so interesting. He's like, me and my team are working with Richard Branson. We were at his island and we were teaching his team how to use AI. You know,
Wow.
imagine this. And he's like, I've invested in over 20 AI companies. So imagine a guy who was teaching speaking 4 years ago, talking about speaking and presenting, now is in AI, and he's coaching the big boys on how to implement AI in their business. So imagine big companies like Virgin also need coaches to come and train their staff. So it's the level of what coaches can do and how they can transform a team, a person, is unprecedented. It's just going out there, right? But obviously you have to come down and niche down to what you want. What is, like I said in the beginning, the person you want to coach or the team you want to coach, your perfect avatar is what you were at one time, some obstacle you had, and you want to move forward from there, right? And which brings me to, I mean, you asked me the question how it transformed you. You also told us how it transformed you, right? um, Something I want to discuss is a lot of people have a misconception about coaching is the time it takes to transform. Because a lot of people, some people learn quick, some people learn at their own pace, some people have, like you spoke about, trauma, some people have traumas of some reasons which takes a little bit longer to overcome some obstacles, right? So coaching is different for different level of learners as well, right? But there's a methodology, and the more tools a coach has, the more he can help his student or the person he is coaching. And that's where the keep learning comes. I mean, we were practically, if you remember back in 2020, 2021, we literally would learn every week, right? We were not just learning how to coach, we were learning social media, we were learning so many things back then, if you remember, right? We had quantum
Absolutely.
sessions where we were discussing quantum. And for you, it was easier because you are a physicist, you've studied this stuff, right? What used to sound woo woo has a science to it, right? It has a science to it. Like they talk about timeline therapy, they talk about quantum jumping, all of that stuff. It's science. It's just the word sounds very complicated, but there's a science to it,
Yeah,
like there's a science to coaching.
absolutely. You're correct. And
And that's what we did in our
while
course. We broke it down.
yeah, and I mean, we can go on for we can keep going on, talking about the benefits of coaching and how it has transformed us and how it can transform people. But then again, there's always room for, what, your time is always the best time to get it, and which is something that one of our one key thing that we understand as coaches is, you know sometimes you get to a point that when you need to grow, when you need to grow, there would be a level of discomfort. So for me personally, while we were, training and retraining, and I'm still training and retraining, is I just knew that I had a growth mindset, which is what most coaches are like. Some people just get tired of me and they call me. I'm like, I'm in a workshop. Oh, can I talk later? I'm in a training. I'm like, you're always in a training. And I said, okay, let me break it down. When I say I'm in a training, what I mean is I'm either the trainer or I am being trained. I am either the trainer or I am being trained. So forgive me, that's my industry and that's what I do for a living. Don't don't beat me. Don't kill me. I mean, you can only find a doctor in a hospital, just like you find a coach in a training session or in a coaching session, or the coach is in a workshop. So a coach, one of the things that you can tell who a good coach is their ability to always want to learn and grow. Because, like you said, big companies out there understand the relevance of coaching. If you are able to work with the individuals in your organization, you are heading for the top. Most organizations would get a manager, we get HR, but then, well, we're getting there. We're getting to the point where a life coach should be part of the people that should be employed in an organization, so that they're able to tell some of the employees that, because the only thing that motivates an employee is the salary. It's the salary. That's the only, for some organizations, that's the only thing that motivates them. But when you're able to coach them to be able to understand that wherever you find yourself, you are meeting a need, you're helping people thrive. But it will take a lot to help people see that, because they have a mindset already that I've worked for you, just pay me my salary. That's all I have with you. That's the only thing I have with you. But I did a training recently, and all of the staff were like, oh my goodness, I never saw it that way. Oh my goodness. Now it's a logistics company, and most of the riders just do things anyhow. And then the training was all about me teaching them how you're helping a client that is in dire need of something. You are helping them take from the manufacturer, from the producer, from the salesperson to you as a consumer. Can you imagine how wonderful your profession is? You're not just a rider, you're not just a delivery person. You are helping people get what they really want. And, they were like, oh, really? That's true. But in their heads, they were just delivery guys. They were just delivery guys. But I coached them to see how important their role as delivery people, what they do as delivery people, how important that role is. And I can tell you, when I left that training, I could tell that their performance level will increase. I could tell, I already knew that they were going to, because their mindset has shifted from just being an ordinary delivery person to someone helping somebody in their need of certain commodity or certain goods to to get that thing. And it's beautiful how coaching can help people change their mindsets and help them see things from a holistic point of view. And I love it. I mean, I'm super, super excited that I'm a coach, and I can't get over myself for, getting this path, working in this path. And also, I have almost forgotten that it was on my way of applying my coaching skills that I met you. Coaching can help you filter the people that you bring into your life. What do you have to say about that when it comes to networking and meeting like minds as a coach?
Well, definitely. They always say, right? Surround yourself with the people you most want to be like, right? And your vibe, right, attracts your tribe. Uh, when I wasn't into coaching, I was around people who probably needed coaching, right? But when I upped my game and I realized I no longer can surround myself with such people, and I started networking a lot. I went to events, I met people. You tell people what you do. Other coaches, they some of them look up to you, some of them ask you for help, right? Depending on what form of coaching they do. I've had so many coaches, like business coaches, this coaches, and they're like, how about you train us on how to be how to do public speaking, because we feel we're weak over there. And it's so interesting. During COVID, I actually had a senior coach from Bob Proctor's organization message me, and she was like, I looked at so many profiles on Instagram. For some reason, I've contacted you. You know, it's funny how that happens. And speaking to her, I somehow got a little coached on certain aspects that I needed help in. So, and you get to learn so much, right? If you meet the people, they tell you, oh, this is how I got that speaking opportunity, or this is how I got recognized, or this is like, you learn so much from people who've done the trial and error, right? They will tell you, you should attend this business networking event. Maybe I'll recommend you to someone, right? It happened to me once in a very big event in Hong Kong. There was a business education event, and all these universities from around the world had come, the biggest business universities, right? Some of their tuition fees are like close to 150, $200,000 a year. Okay. And unfortunately, the event didn't have an MC. So I had a friend, and she was in dire need. She posted it on Facebook. She's like looking for a Caucasian, uh, you know, and now I could have stopped myself there, right? I'm not Caucasian, right? But I just messaged her and say, do I fit to be a Caucasian? And she's like, you're a lifesaver, you know? And she recommended me. It was for the largest newspaper company in Hong Kong. Guess what? I've done speeches, but I'm not emceed too much. The universe works in different ways. My friend, the night before that, she's an MC, did a 2-hour workshop on what are the right colors to wear, how to, I mean, most of it I related to because I've done a lot of events as well, but I still got those few tips and things. She's like, what happens when something goes wrong? What do you do? Right? So got that. The event happened, worked it out. But again, it's your tribe, right? Who are you around? I have friends who are MCs. Someone is a business coach. Someone is a book writer, coach. You have to surround yourself with such people, because that elevates you. And you've heard this many times. I'll say it again. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You're in the wrong room. You have to be in a room where you're not the smartest person, because that's how you learn. And if you're around 5 billionaires and you're not one, you will become one.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. I need to put that somewhere big enough to be able to know. And I think
I'm telling you, I have to just cut you in. Yesterday or day before, I was attending one event. It was like midnight EST, right? So I just
Mm.
signed up for it because I was like, let me just see what this is all about, right? And I was thoroughly listening to the guy and taking some notes. And he said something that hit me so hard. I had such an aha moment. He's like, let your triggers be your guides. I was like, oh my God, that was so profound. That one sentence, let your triggers be your guides. I was like, oh, wow. So never stop attending events, never stop learning from others, never think you know everything. You never know. You like how you got aha moments, I get aha moments listening to you. Our audience gets aha moments. You never know. You get that one aha moment. And that's the transformation.
And I think that's a wonderful place to end it because
Yes.
we want you to get this because definitely so we've not been talking a lot about subscribing and liking and sharing this, but this is and moving forward we know that you're going to watch this on replay and would love for you to like, subscribe and share because in the coming weeks we'll be doing something really profound. All right, what do you have to say so we can wrap up?
Well, yes, we do these YouTube lives. If you haven't subscribed, shared it, please do. You never know who it will help. Like we always have seen videos and helped, got help. So do subscribe, do like it. And, this is the aha movement. You never know what aha you're going to get. Thank you once again, Grace, for gracing the show. And it's nice to have done this after 2 weeks break. But we're going to be back again next week and with another topic, and looking forward to seeing all of you again. Thank you so much, and bye bye.
Bye bye.